Good evening. I have only 2 shifts left of double shifts, and then I will only have 1 job a day. So I'm excited. Just wanted to share that. If I still look tired, that's why. Now we're continuing on with part 2, Reflections on Recovery from Refuge Recovery, A Buddhist Path to Recovering from Addiction by Levine. We're continuing with part 2, where the following are personal recovery stories from members of our Refuge Recovery community. We have included these stories for those new to recovery to get a sense of the various ways in which recovery happens. You are not alone in your suffering, your confusion, or your path of healing and recovery. I'm also trying to film this on my Kindle, so if it looks different, that's why. I had no way of making it go further back, so it's a little like whoa in your face, so sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry. This thing uploads things faster, so there you go. Continuing on with chapter 20, Enrique. I've come to understand and believe on one level or another that the story doesn't really matter, or at least not the details, because the external conditions of my story may be different from yours. I like to tell a different story, the story of the heart, spoken in the language of the heart, something we may all be able to understand. I heard this story at my first silent retreat with Against the Stream Buddhist Meditation Society. It's about an amazing clay Buddha statue, which was over 10 feet tall and weighed at least 2 tons. It was kept in a monastery in Thailand, but local developers there were planning to tear down the monastery to make a way for a highway. The monks arranged for a crane to come and move the Buddha to its new location. When the crane started to lift the statue, it began to crack. The crew had underestimated its weight. Wanting to protect their statue, the monks must have said something like, "Let's chill out and figure out something else." The crew lowered the statue back down and decided to bring in a more powerful crane the next day. To add insult to injury, the rains came, so the monks had to lovingly cover the statue with tarps to keep the moisture away. They did this lovingly. Later that night, the head monk took his flashlight and went out to make sure the Buddha was all right. When the light of the flashlight shone into the crack of the clay, he saw a glimmer, a reflection of something underneath that shroud of clay. He started to carefully chisel away shards of clay. The glimmer grew brighter. Hours later, he had chiseled away all the clay to reveal the presence of a Buddha made of solid gold. The monk went back into the history books and found out that the Burmese, spelled Burmese, army, once invaded Thailand. Because their Buddha was made of gold, the monks didn't want the Burmese army to pillage it, so they covered it with the golden Buddha with 12 inches of clay. Sadly, the monks were slaughtered in the invasion, and the secret of the golden Buddha stayed hidden for 2 centuries. And as new monks and people came through, all they saw was some dusty old Buddha. They didn't realize its value. So this is my story. This may be your story, right? No matter where we come from, or the conditions surrounding us, we on some level or another drink and get fucked up on drugs to escape pain. The pain of our past, present, and future. And in doing so, we sometimes forget who we are. This story reminds us that we all have intrinsic value. There is nothing wrong with us. The Buddha started some of his talks with the saying, "O nobly born sons and daughters of the Buddha, of the awakened ones, remember who you really are." He also said that if the element of the truth seeker did not already exist within you, there would be no path, no discovery, no awakening of wisdom, no awakening of compassion. Because the element of truth seeker is within you. There's a part of you that already knows who you are and wants to awaken to this mystery. And because this is a part of you, it takes you on this journey of discovery. I love that. I believe that. Not only do I believe it, I know it to be true in my very own experience. We've all been hurt, abandoned, let down. We've all felt pain, grief, sorrow. We are so resilient, aren't we just? There is nothing wrong with me. There never was. The fear that something was wrong with me was why I started running away from pain and why my intentions were so misguided. I was so confused and so afraid of pain that I unskillfully tried to escape it, while what I was actually doing was covering up what was pure and good. And locked inside of me was the very thing I was trying to escape from. What did I want to escape from? The pain of loss and abandonment of my dad not being there. I wanted to escape the pain I felt from the story I made up about how it was my fault he left, that he didn't love me, and that I was unlovable. I lived in a dangerous neighborhood, so my mother sent me to live with my grandparents in Arizona at the age of 11. Ah, Arizona. I have a special place in my heart for that place. I felt abandoned and betrayed. I felt unloved and unlovable, and I had a really strong desire not to exist anymore. Around the same time, I took my first hit of weed and drank my first drink. I went from feeling pretty powerless to feeling super powerful. I felt like I could actually keep going. I didn't care about what had happened to me. I found my medicine. And I felt good. For the first time in a long time, I felt good. And in hindsight, I turned my will and life over to drugs and alcohol. And I wanted to feel good all the time. And the rest of my life was in this effort. My drug and alcohol use progressed very quickly, and along with this came a criminal lifestyle. By 13, I was in a gang. I was constantly getting high and constantly getting drunk. I soon landed in juvenile hall, in and out and in again, over and over. By 16, I was completely gone. The shadow side had taken over. I spent 8 months in a lockdown placement home and then became a ward of the state. I get now that all I wanted was to be loved and accepted and had a deep need for community. I was just barking up the wrong tree. Anyway, that's what it looked like. In and out of jail, in and out of homes, letting people down left and right, hurting the people who loved me the most. Gnarls Barkley said, "Hurt people hurt people." This was my story, in so much pain that I couldn't hold on to it anymore. I spilled the pain out onto anyone who got close. Sometimes it's likened to this idea of going to pet a little puppy and the puppy tries to bite you and you get all pissed off. But upon further investigation, you notice the puppy's leg is caught in a trap and it is in a lot of pain. And the people who reached out and helped were the very people I attacked. But I was super righteous about my drinking, super righteous about my using. I was going to keep drinking no matter what. I found my solution, so why should I let her go? I don't care what you say about me and my mistress. She lets me be me. She never lets me down. She keeps me safe and protected until I no longer had a choice. In the end, it came down to this. I was 24 years old and lost. I was Super tired. So tired. As they say, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had the delusion that if I could just get what I wanted, if I could just stay high, everything would be okay. But this belief was killing me. I was dying inside. I was losing my mind. I kept wishing that I would just die. The conditions leading up to my rock bottom looked like this. A year earlier, my girlfriend broke up with me. I was at a real bad place. I was racked with so much pain inside. I looked and I felt like shit. Around this time, I ran into some high school friends I used to party with. They all seemed to... Come here. Oh, baby girl. Where was I, Kina? You lost my spot. Yeah. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had the delusion that if I could just get what I wanted, if I could just stay high, everything would be okay. But this belief was killing me. I was dying inside. I was losing my mind. I kept wishing that I would just die. The conditions leading up to my rock bottom looked like this. That's where we were. A year earlier, my girlfriend broke up with me. I was at a real bad place then. I was racked with so much pain inside. I looked and felt like shit. Around this time, I ran into some high school friends I used to party with. They all seemed to be doing really well. They were all graduating from college and getting married. I was humiliated. I lashed out. I beat up my roommate, which got me kicked out of my apartment. I beat a man unconscious with a mag light. I almost killed him. I lost $10,000 in a drug deal gone bad, and the people who fronted me the money were after me. I had to go into hiding. I got into a gnarly fight with my dad. I ended up in jail, which cost me the chance to hang out with my brand new baby cousin, my only cousin. This was just a real low point in my life. The fear, the shame, the guilt, and remorse had taken over. I was scaring the people around me. My mind was in full attack mode, and I went into a deeper hole. So the very last straw was getting kicked out of the speed den. Literally the last place left for me to go. I had to throw my things in a shopping cart and push it down Victory Boulevard, aimlessly walking around the city with thoughts of suicide and homicide. Then, as they say, I had a moment of clarity. I landed in a 30-day inpatient rehab. From there, I committed to a year at a sober living home. When I had about 11 months of sobriety and was on my 11th step, someone handed me the Dharma Punk. That's that book, that other book by the author of this book. Dharma Punks is spelled DHARMAPUNX. And again, the author is Noah Levine. Last name Levine. Nope. Let's see. I read it and I was immediately hooked. I totally relate to the message and became obsessed with meditation. Now remember that I was a high school dropout, and the only time I had read was in jail when there was absolutely nothing else to do, and I lived in a really small world and knew nothing of Eastern philosophy or Buddhism. So I like to think that the Dharma found me. Eventually, I went out and found a home. I found my home. And what really happened was that I continued to show and start to feel. I started to slow down. Meditation had not only brought calm into my heart and mind, but it had allowed me to bring insight into the destructive mental and emotional habits. In the big book of AA, it says that drugs and alcohol are merely a symptom of our internal imbalance. The disease centers in our mind. Wow, beautifully stated. Wow, I like that. Because it's true. This is why mindfulness and Dharma are so powerful when it comes to recovery. It gets to the root of what is happening. When I take the time to carefully observe my thought process, I begin to see how I create many of my own problems, and then I can learn to let go. And what I think he means here by letting go is not fucking things off. or walking away just like, tra-la-la, who cares? It's about being kind. It's about integrity. It's about being your highest self. It's about not letting yourself down. And because you are part of the whole, that includes the people around you that you choose to interact with, that you choose to help, that you choose to work with, that you choose to live with, that you choose to share your energy with. I begin to see how I create many of my own problems, and then I can learn to let go. To let go of those habits, those emotions, those thought processes that leave you imbalanced. That's what you let go of once you've understood them. I think of the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, S-A-N-G-H-A. For me, the metaphor for this path is coming home, finding refuge in my body, in my heart, loving all of me, and trusting in my own potential to be awake, which is what Buddha means. There's a fucking map. There's a fucking map? What? It's all laid out for us. I practice and things start getting clear. I start to see the truth and have tools to help me be a good person. Learn to do good. Make it your way of being. And there's a community. I'm so grateful I don't have to do this on my own. I know that they've got my back, and because of that, I can let go. And now, as my friend Pablo says, me and my friends are staying free. That was short and sweet. Hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. Namaste, guys. Hasta mañana. Be well.